Hello, this quick video is intended to help you get up and running quickly on Ravetree. It assumes that maybe you work at a company and they just told you that you're using Ravetree and you want to know the basics. So the most important thing in Ravetree is a work item. A work item is just like a task. And you can easily view your work items on this work items page by selecting the assign to me filter. Of course, you could filter this in other ways. And over here, we show all of our filters. So if you click on this, you can see all the different filtering options, which you may or may not need. You can save your filters, and they would easily be accessible over here. One thing that you can do with your list of work items is you can group the results. So right now they're ungrouped, but as you can see, there's a number of ways in which they can be grouped. For example, by priority. So now you can see all of your assigned work items grouped by priority. Maybe we collapse this one. It may be that we only care about high priority or critical priority work items, so you can easily see them here. Now these table views can be customized. So if we click down here, we can choose the columns that show up on the table, and we group all the different column options. So any custom fields that may have been added are over here, date and time fields, financial fields, just general types of fields, and information about people, so followers, team members, etc. So you can select these here, and then on the right you can actually reorder them. So you can drag and drop to change the order in which those columns appear on the table, but you can also do that directly on the table. For example, we could take priority and just move that over here, resize it, pretty straightforward. We also have bulk editing capabilities. So we could select a handful of work items here, or we could select everything in the high priority list and then click there if we want to do a bulk edit. Maybe you want to reassign them or maybe change the priority. There's a lot of different options available here. So this is, again, where you can view all of your work items. There's also a board view. So if you don't like the table view, you can go to the board view. And the board view has a few different options, a few different ways in which they can be grouped. So right now they're currently grouped by priority. So critical, high, medium, and normal priority. You may prefer other groupings, perhaps by phase. So these are work items that have a certain workflow. So these are the ones in the backlog. The backlog is kind of like your to-do list. And then we have those that are in progress, done, on hold, or canceled. Work items can also be linked to a team. And each team can set up their own custom workflow, which in general would be different from this default workflow. So if you are a member of a team, let's say you're on the design team, you could select that. And as you can see, the design team has a different workflow as indicated here. And since we're only viewing my assigned work items, it looks like I just have a few over here in the backlog. Of course, if we uncheck that, then we can see all the work items for any team member, anybody a member of the design team. Now, as far as other views, you could go over to the dashboard, and the dashboard is fully customizable. You can create multiple dashboards. Just click there to create a new one, and then you can select between the different dashboards here. If you want to add a dashboard widget, just click over here, and we've got a lot of different options, and you can just drag and drop to easily add it to your dashboard. Now, Ravetree will send out a lot of different notifications to let you know when something is due, if something is overdue. And if you want to control those notifications, just click here, go to My Settings, and then we'll go to the notification settings. So here on the left, these are all the different things that will, or different actions rather, that will generate notifications in Ravetree. So if somebody makes a comment on one of your work items, you can get a notification for that. And there's 3 ways that you can be notified. You can get an internal notification, in which case it will show up over here. You could receive an email notification or a text message notification. Of course, you could turn these off if you prefer not to receive those notifications. One other thing to point out is if we go to the general settings area, you can control what your landing page is. This is the page that first loads up when you log into Ravetree. The default is to be taken to the work items page that we looked at in the beginning, but you could also change that to be the dashboard. You can control if new links or if links open up in a new tab or the same tab, and that would be internal links. So if you click on a different work item, maybe it opens up in a different tab if you prefer. If you need to change your password, you can do that here. And it's also important, make sure that you set your time zone correctly. If you live in a different time zone, this will control how things show up on the calendar and in other places. All right, so the other core element of Ravetree for new users is the ability to log time. Okay, so if you are doing time tracking, let's scroll over here. You'll notice that on this table view, we have chosen to add the timer. Okay, you could choose not to have this on your table view if you don't do time tracking or if you don't like the timer. But if you want to log time, just start up the timer. It will start flashing to let you know that it's running. And it also shows up over here so that as you navigate to different pages in Ravetree, you can always see that you're logging time. Now, if you do start the timer, but you intended to start it, let's say earlier, maybe you go into a meeting and you're logging your time, but halfway through you realize that you should have started the timer and you didn't. That's no problem. You can just click there, select edit, and you can change the time. So you could go in here and let's say the meeting really started at 11:30. So we just change that. You'll notice that the time was updated and the timer is still running. So no worries. You can enter some details, click save. It's letting me know the timer was updated. And then we can see that it did in fact update that time. And once you're done, of course, click there to stop. And it's telling us that it has now created a time log. Okay, so the timer was saved as an actual time log. And if you click on this timer dropdown, you can actually have quick access to your timesheet where you could see that time that's been logged. But before we go there, just notice that over here, you can see the things that you are logging time against for this current week. You could go back to different weeks if you want, or you could just kind of navigate this way. So this week we had all of these different items that we were logging time against. And that way, let's say, I want to log time against this thing for this week. I don't really have to add it to the timesheet if I don't want. I could just go here and start up a timer, and then it will automatically apply this item to this week's timesheet once I save the time log. But let's go to the timesheet. And let's actually go back just a few weeks here. So we'll go to this week, the week of June 16th. And you can see for the current user, the 4 different things that they have logged time against that week. You can see the total on each day for each item. So just over 4 hours for this item here on Monday. And of course, you get the total up here at the top for everything for that day. The timesheet will also show if you're on vacation or if it's a holiday, and the striped background tells you that it's not a work day. If you click this little arrow, then you can see the individual time log entries that you made against that particular item. And you can see the start time and the end time, any notes that you may have entered. You can also see how that time was entered. In this case, the time was logged from a timer. If it was logged directly just as a time log entry, for example, if you click here, let's say, and just say like 1 hour, then it would have a different icon letting you know it was created from a manual time log. You can see if the time log has been approved, if it's billable or not. And if you want to add another row to your timesheet, something that you're planning to log time against, just click here. And These options, it will remember the last options you selected. So by default, it will show this. And we're looking at my assigned work items that are currently in the backlog or that are active. And I could easily just click on one to add it to the timesheet, or I could select multiple work items at once and then add them all at once to the timesheet. And then, of course, you could also add projects. So in Ravetree, when you log time, you don't have to log time to a work item. You could log time directly to a project and bypass the need to create a work item. So if that's the case, you could just add the projects here. Of course, you could add multiple as well. The timesheet will allow you to filter by billable and non-billable hours. So if you're doing both, you could kind of see how you're tracking there. And if you have access to the company timesheet, you can view that here. Not everyone will see this. It depends on how your company has set up your permissions. But if you do have access to the company timesheet, you click there, you can now see the timesheet for each user in the company. We also have a table view. Again, this is something that you may or may not have access to, so you might not see the table view icon, but if you do have access, this shows a table view of all of the time log entries, and it gives you some insights into some of the financials. You also may or may not have permission to see certain financials, so you may or may not see this financial information, but nevertheless the table view is there. It's customizable, and you can see all kinds of different information by clicking here to customize on the table. You can also import and export time logs. So hopefully this video was useful. In summary, we showed that a work item is the fundamental unit of work in Ravetree. We showed some of the different ways that you can view your work items. We looked at the dashboard, the user settings where you can control your notifications, and also how to log time.